I come from a very small town of 13,000 inhabitants, San Pedro La Laguna. We are right at the edge of the San Pedro volcano on the shores of Lake Atitlan. Ever since I was very small, I began to paint. I watched my grandfather painting many times. As a child, this attracted me a lot, to get close to him and see how to paint. What do you use? How do you apply colors? This was the most important thing for me. My grandfather painted Maya customs and traditions.
Mi abuelo era costumbrista, pintaba las tradiciones.
After 6th grade, I went to the capital and met an uncle. I began to paint with him. With my uncle, it was markets, churches and markets. And I said, okay, what will I have as my own style? I don't want to lose the thread of my grandfather's work.
Entonces fue que yo empecé con esto, pero más.
So, this is how I got started. But the deeper I got into the Maya traditions, the more I began to appreciate women.
A mujeres. Porque antes, para los mayas.
Because before, for the Maya, the woman had a very important role. She was a priest. She was the one who did everything in the home.
El hombre solamente.
The man only thought about supporting the family, how to support it, and how to work. Of course, he had his goals.
Claro que tenía sus metas, pero no a la comparación.
But not in comparison with the woman.
La mujer representa lo que es la madre tierra.
Woman represents Mother Earth. For the Maya, Mayab means Mother Earth.
Más son las mujeres madrugadoras.
The women get up much earlier than we do. There is a saying that goes, God helps the early riser.
Yo vi a mi abuela de parte de mi padre.
And I watched my grandmother on my father's side. She got up at 3 in the morning.
A las 5 de la mañana.
At 5 in the morning, she gave my grandfather his tortillas, his lunch, and he went to the fields.
This picture of the couple picking coffee, it's kind of fun to see because there are some things that the man and the woman in a family do together. This almost looks like it's an individual coffee plant by where they live. And so when it comes to fruit, they both get out there in the early morning and pick the coffee. But what's nice here is to see the man and the woman working together.
Esta madre angustiada, ella siempre piensa.
This anguished mother is always thinking about nature, always thinking about the man. And so this is the anguish of a mother, always directed toward the man.
Y esto es la angustia de una madre. Siempre va dirigido al hombre. Y dice que
in this painting, she had broken her grindstone. They tell me that when this stone is broken, it means that something very bad will happen. This mother could lose her husband. And if she loses her husband and she has a lot of kids, there will be anguish. She says, what will I do with these children? I have 3, 4, 5 children. So immediately the woman tries to arrange a ceremony, some ritual she can have for the man. She says, okay, I have to go and ask God, el ajao.
Hay que ir a pedir al ajao. Entonces,
She prepares a special rite to prevent this disaster from happening to the family.
en la familia.
Pedro Rafaél has a purpose in his painting that includes portraying important practices of the community, especially those that are not as common now, things that might be lost. So he's recording for the present and the future practices that were important 50, 60, 100 years before.
En ese momento cuando se celebra esa ceremonia,
When this ceremony is being celebrated, all the neighbors participate because all of them are going to sow corn.
entonces es un momento donde hay que aprovechar para
It's a moment you have to take advantage of to bless the seed corn.
el maíz o la semilla.
But the most important thing in this ceremony is that it is better if a woman directs it. Because they say that woman is the owner. She is the earth. And so there is a good harvest and good hands. When a man performs a ceremony, they say that it's bad weather, a bad harvest, and it doesn't produce anything. And so here as well, the woman stands out.
Eso es otra ceremonia que se prepara.
This is another ceremony they are preparing. This was another question I asked my grandfather. How did they do this before with the baptism? He told me that before there was no baptism. Baptism came along with the Latinos. Baptism came with the Spaniards. Baptism was brought by all those people who came to destroy us. And what was there before? Before it was called presentation of the children.
Presentación de niños. Eso es lo que pinto ahora.
This is what I paint now. It has to have some relationship with what happened much earlier.
His purpose in painting includes historical record keeping and respect for traditional Mayan ways. Midwifery would be one of those.
Una mujer.
A woman who is a midwife is a nurse. She's a doctor. She is everything. And so you must have a lot of respect for this woman. She is the one who brings us into the light.
Sin la mujer.
Without woman, we simply wouldn't be here. Without the midwife, I don't know what would happen.
They are greeted with very deep respect in the community, even now. Most of the very respectful greetings have gone by the wayside, but the midwives still, the traditional midwives still get a kiss to the back of the hand, which is a deep sign of respect, especially from the people that she's delivered.
Rafael, a long time ago, decided he did not want to work with the tourist galleries because he wanted to paint what was in his heart. He spends as much time thinking about the themes and developing the themes in his mind before he starts painting as he actually does applying the paint to the canvas.
Entonces, ¿cómo hago yo para?
So, how do I go about drawing and painting this? It takes a lot of time and concentration.
He paints very, very slowly, almost as if you are unrolling an oriental rug, starting at the top of the painting and going down.
In many ways, women's lives are difficult in poor communities, given difficulties getting food for the children, medical care. And there's been a long history of indigenous people, men and women alike, being very poorly treated by the government of Guatemala.
Perhaps 200,000 Maya people were killed during this period.
I think that when the military came in and murdered so many of the men, so many of the fathers, the sons, life just lost a lot of its meaning for these women.
Tragedia is a small painting that was leading up to a big painting of a massacre that happened in Santiago. And in this painting, you see the women of a family coming home, and they find all the men and the boys in the family dead. The death squad or the army, the military has been there and just killed everybody indiscriminately.
He takes on some very difficult topics. The genocide is something that was a horrible thing. Its effects were in San Pedro. 30-some young men were disappeared and never returned. Some of them, almost everybody in town has a relative who was among them. And Pedro Rafaél has painted on that topic. But he still has a sense of humor. He's a cheerful man. I admire how people can joke about things and still be very straightforward about the difficulties of life.
Llegaba la señora a vender pan de banana.
One day along came this lady selling banana bread, chocolate pastry, and fruit. And I said to this señora, "You're very old. You ought to rest because the fruit weighs a lot." So she said, "Why are you worried about me?" I said, "It is painful to me. You might fall, and you're already old. You're older than me." She told me, "Yes, I am old, but it has nothing to do with age." And she still has this energy in responding to me. She said, "You know, the last thing that dies is hope. I have faith and hope in my life."
He is so loving in how he paints this woman's face. It's just beautiful. She's an older woman. She has pretty white hair. It's very tender. He obviously likes this individual person. He respects her. A woman of that age has lived through a lot, has seen a lot in Guatemala. But this woman maintains her perspective and maintains probably hope.
Esto se llama la voz de nuestra cultura.
This is called the voice of our culture. If you look at this painting, it is very sentimental. The eyes of the señorita are downcast. The candle has gone out. She manifests the earth. She manifests the end of a culture, the end of the destruction.
El final de la destrucción.
It is not the end of the world, that the earth won't exist anymore.
Va a existir final del mundo, pero nosotros...
The end of the world will happen, but we ourselves will cause it.
Ahora, esta pintura tiene una vela apagada.
Now, this painting has a candle that has gone out. It is an invitation to us men in this new year, this new era that's coming. It invites us men to get focused. We walk this earth. We must get in contact with the earth to give, to think, to create a new equilibrium.
para pensar,
We need to
para
create
tener un
harmony.
nuevo equilibrio, para tener armonía. Entonces eso es
So, this is what it shows us
de levantarnos,
to rise up, to react.
podemos
We can, it can be done.